Hey guys, what's going on? This is Wes. It's been a little while since I've done any tutorial videos, but this is going to be the first part of a new series of tutorials, which is going to be focused completely on comics. And each week on Wednesday, I am going to be looking at a different comic artist and I'm going to be breaking down some of the things it is that I notice, the things that I notice about the way that they move the story from panel to panel, um, the way it is that they convey the story through the interplay between different panels and that sort of thing. And so it's going to be if you're a comic artist, then I think you're going to find some of this to be pretty useful. I'm a comic artist. I have a couple of comics that you can check out in my link in my description on my Gumroad. But today we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at this guy, Rey Macutay. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. And I'm just going to go through and I'm going to show some of the things it is that I notice about his work. One of the things that I find really interesting about these panels here, specifically in this page, and this page, which is all from the same story. It looks like a Western story. Uh, what it is that we see is we see a connection between some of these pages already. The first one it is that I see is this gun right here, right? We have this gun, and and another thing it is that I notice about these three pages is that they are all silent, you could say. The illustrations basically carry the whole story. There's no dialogue, there's no blurbs written over anything. It's just the illustration and the art. And I love the way it is that he does this because it really helps tell an interesting story. So, but I want to go back to this first one that I was talking about. There's a number of different ways that he directs our eye throughout the image, and that ends up creating a interesting image in and of itself. Now, this feels like some sort of a flashback scene because we're obviously jumping between different timelines, right? So we have this figure who is carrying what? He's carrying this gold gun, which I assume is the gun that was in the previous page. And he's walking along a platform. This platform, we then do a jump and we see that he is now the commander on this ship. Now, obviously, he has a number of different ways that he's telling us that this guy is the commander and that this is the same character. The first one obviously being the gun, and then the gun that's sitting behind it, that he's holding behind his back right here. I really like the way it is that he does that. The other thing it is that he does is that he has him basically standing out as a single silhouette against a crowd of people. Everybody in the crowd is basically pointing with their bodies on both sides, pointing towards him. They're all moving in this kind of motion towards him, right? And then we can kind of see this as well here, in that he is obviously the most prominent shape, the most prominent part of this panel, right? So the thing that he's trying to communicate with this panel is this guy's authority, you could say, his stature, right? And notice there's this back and forth kind of rhythm of where he's placed. You have go here, here, and then there's a building that's here. So we go, he's oriented to the left and then center and then back again. To me, in my mind, I imagine that this is now an establishing shot that's taken us maybe into the modern day, and perhaps this guy is now in this building. Maybe this is a flashback of a previous part of his life, and now we're catching up to his current story. This is another great shot. Now that I'm looking at this, it's not clear to me if this is the same character, but it's another great storytelling episode going on this one page, right? So we have this character who's who's sitting alone in a cabin, and we're looking from the outside in. And so this gives us the impression that this is a framing device that's used often in film, and it's used often in comics as well. It's a framing device that is communicating that this character is separated from his environment, or separated from other people, isolated from other people, right? And we can see that this is the case because we see this. I drew over it, so oops. It may not be totally clear, but here you can see that there's a figure, a female figure walking away in the distance, and we see the reflection in the glass, and we see him looking over. And then we see him again, we cut inside and we see this shot of him looking over at the bed. And his loneliness is effectively communicated here visually through the storytelling, right? And there's a sense of time passing because we have this snow passing through the window, and we see it here in the window as well. And it seems like time is moving away from him outside, but inside everything is very still. Everything is very dead. The life is gone, and he's feeling the loneliness of this woman leaving him. And then we see the result of this, right, which is him throwing himself into his work and creating whatever it is that he's creating, which I assume it may very well be the gun. This is another interesting panel, right? I have not read this guy's comics. I'm just looking at his art. Um, but again, we have this really interesting use of the way that he frames these panels, and this will contrast against some of the other stuff it is that we're going to dig into next, uh, which is that everything here is very cinematically done. Everything is a 16:9 ratio frame. The frames don't change in size, and so I think that this helps with with the readability of the book. It helps move your eye along pretty quickly, right? Well, then here we do have an image with some words, right? And it looks like his wife and his child abandoned him, and he strikes out on his own into the wilderness. I'm not gonna waste your time reading that. We're gonna go ahead and jump to another one. This is another one that I thought was really good. It's really good because he's very economical with the amount of information that he puts on this page. So let's look at this for example, how much information he's able to convey in these amount of panels. Now, for one thing, I think that this is completely deliberate that he's not putting the word bubbles there. I think it really helps with the readability, and I think that uh, he's using that in a very smart way to communicate the story. So we have two establishing shots, right? Or well, three actually. We have this establishing shot of Paris that's right here in the corner, and we see that we're in the future because we have these flying cars, right? And then we have basically like a zoomed in image in the form of this coffee shop, right? And then we again punch in with these smaller panels. And he uses these smaller panels in order to make the story pass pretty quickly. But just by looking at it, just by glancing at it, you can tell the story, right? You have these two characters. The older man seems, you could almost imagine him as being a father figure, and his son is getting up and leaving him, right? So it's communicated very effectively. Again, these are just really really nice shots that are very well composed. Right, I love that he's doing this from a first-hand perspective, and he's jumping between different times, and potentially different characters, it seems like. Right, you have this colonel in the Civil War going to battle, and this is a quite complicated shot because he has so many diagonals, right? And then we have this first person shooting of this guy at a poker table, right? And then we have these this family of Indians being slaughtered, and we have again the first person perspective. Oh, this is getting into potentially YouTube territory, censor territory. Hopefully not. We'll go ahead and we'll hide that. But yeah, we have this figure here from the previous panels that we were looking at. We see the beginning of the story. It looks like this woman who we saw dancing in the fire was his companion, and she left. And then we have, oh wow, we have this shot here. This is an awesome shot. So I'm curious if these may just be pencils. I mean, obviously they are just pencils, but I'm curious if they are because, he's in a winter wonderland and the color in his life has left, and he's pretty much at the end of his, or he is at the end of his life. And I love the way he uses his white space, right? Very beautiful. And then I think this is the same guy. I'm not sure. This may not be the same guy from here on. Okay. So yeah, this is Ray, and I'm going to include a link to his work in the description box below. Make sure to check him out. He's a phenomenal comic book artist, and I'm going to continue to do these every week. If you're interested in checking out my comic books, I am adapting the Philip K. Dick short stories into comic book form, and I'm putting them on my Gumroad. And so you can go onto my Gumroad and you can get sneak peeks of stuff for free, but you can also buy some of the comics. I plan on kickstarting a full book that's going to contain the stories, uh, like printed. Um, but for now, you can find them on my Gumroad as well as the philipkdickfiles.com. You can find my newsletter there in order to stay up to date on everything I'm doing there. And I also am posting videos regularly here on the comic as well. Anyways, guys, thank you so much and take care.